Thank you very much, Francine, and good morning, everybody. How are you today? Once again, we have a great webinar. Thank you for your introductions. And well, welcome everybody. Have a good morning. Like every Thursday, we're gonna have our webinar session. Today, well, the topic will be item design with Central. This is a series of trainings that I'm going to be presenting a normal or the modules functionality since I have been working together. This week I'm going to have 2 trainings. Tomorrow will be for these new topics that as well we have now with the ERP and this new in the cloud technology that is now very is increasingly being developed for our customers. You can get to know the new technologies with the 365 and in the cloud processes, integration, etc. And we cannot forget about the Business Central functionality, right? So that's why we still have this type of webinars where you can learn everything about how we do things here in the ERP. Either if you have NAV 2018, Business Central as well, the latest versions, and as well if you want to learn anything about our ERP functionality. Okay, with that said, let's just begin. We're going to have more or less a 1 hour session where we're going to be reviewing the topics, and I'm going to check with you whenever you require a question. Just let me know, and I'm going to be able to help you either in Spanish or in English, right? Now, let's start. I'm working today in a company that, as you can see, is food and beverage. I'm going to be using this company as an example. I have different type of examples, but I thought that for inventory, this would be good, inventory design. The idea of the item is that we have different type of products we can create here in Business Central. Of course, we have a typical or the standard type of items, which could be stock, service, and so on. But we also have, actually we have 5 different type of items. I'm going to explain you in a minute so you can see together with me what's the idea behind this. All right, so to begin, well, I'm in an environment where I have plenty of stores and I have a central warehouse. This is a supermarket company, and I have also POS. And in this section, you can see my interface for the role center for an accountant. And I also working here integrated, just for you to know, with all these apps that currently are in this environment integrated. This is what we can do together in our implementations for the customers, Outlook, Office. Now the new top of the art or the new products Dynamics 365, which is Business Central is a product in this family of products. But from here, we have plenty of other applications that you can actually combine with our ERP as a base. And the foundation now, or the most important product, is of course Business Central when it comes to ERP functions. And all of this is just to complete, just for you to know, Power BI is, in this case, well, apart from the Office integrations, Dynamics 365, new technologies are Power Automate and Power Apps. That is going to help you to create your own applications, Android, so you can actually do more processes. Like if you want alerts, very common that our customers want to know. As an example, they want to implement a workflow. They want to know where the inventory is quite low. Some of you might have machines with sensors and you would like to receive alerts from the sensors in Business Central, and all that all the usage that you could have in your mobile with your camera, with videos, attachments, and of course you can open Business Central in your Android mobile devices. And well, basically all that is integrated, and Teams is a communication tool we use, okay? Just an extra tips that once in a while I just provide for the people who's learning, and as well if you have questions specifically. But today I'm going to now open my items catalog. Here in the items catalog, what I'm going to be showing is let me just change the view to show the pictures as well. Very well. Okay, here in my catalog, don't worry if you don't have specifically supermarket products, but this is going to be helpful to understand which features we have. Why? Because the idea is that whenever we are going to create an item, we might have unit of measures, we might have packs, like the beverages have 6-pack, but also it's been sold in units. Also, in our case, the cheese or the butter, these are examples of items that also could be scaled, like in grams, kilograms, ounces, pounds, and so on, right? Other type of examples of items could be, why not, in the supermarket I'm selling these home appliances that require a serial number, right? And it's different, this type, the treatment for these items, and even we need to review at least a little bit of replenishment, even if it's not the main idea today, but it's part of your design at some point. And another concept is that you might have items that actually have in this case, we create a bag with apples that could have more than one component to actually create a bill of materials. But that will be the most advanced type of item we're going to be managing. Okay, so to begin, what we're going to check now is that we're going to need to understand what type of items we can create. And these are just the basics. Later we have as well products that will be used for services, the service module, items that you could receive, or if you have the service module implemented where you provide maintenance to customer assets. Those are items that we register, but they are not part of our inventory. Okay, so let's review them. I'm going to open one of the items that I have, which is the Bud Light. It's just a beer, right? Very popular, an item that we can understand, and it's going to be really easy to explain now the first design. Okay, so for the Bud Light, in first place, the most important thing, whenever I create an item, of course, I'm going to need the general information, which is here. What is the number? We can define for you the actual automation for serial numbers for your items, or you can define them manually. And here, the description. For us, the general concept will be, or the mandatory fields to start creating actually come in the item card. The mandatory fields, what that I'm going to explain is because at least you need to consider an item to be fully created, you need to be able to purchase, stock, and sell the item. With that said, I'm going to explain how do we create this type of item based on the type of items that we have in Business Central. Here are the three categories. We have inventory, service, and non-inventory. Three basic concepts, three types of items that are actually used in Business Central with different characteristics. Since the inventory type of item might be well, it depends on the company, but majority of items are being purchased. We need to count them, physically count, make the physical count in the warehouse, And when we sell, we might have different unit of measures as well. So that's the type of item that I will be transferring as well. And I basically want to have it physically speaking, right? Then I have the service type of item, which would be maybe I have people who's going to be selling let's say that we are on an engineering company or a hospital. A doctor is not selling you a product, it's selling you a service. It might sell you in the hospital, you might also require tests for a specific disease, also tests for your health, chemical testing, or according to the different criteria. Even in a supermarket, we have cleaning services that we actually have, right? We need to pay for them, and we need to create the items so we can purchase specific cleaning services to have my facilities under control with maintenance, cleaning, what else? Sometimes I need to hire specific type of services from in your industries for different type of sectors. And the idea with this service is that we are not going to stock this item. As well, when we purchase a service item from the accounting wise criteria, we are not going to consider that expenditure when we purchase as inventory. That will be very important to mention. We just post into your inventory accounts all those items that are inventory. Services will need to go to your P&L directly. As you may understand, you are paying for an expense, but you are not creating an asset, neither is part of your actual inventory. And non-inventory items, it's quite similar to the services, but they have less functionality, much less functionality. We can even purchase, we can even sell, but non-inventory means that I'm not going to be able to do any inventory treatment. In other words, I cannot count it as an example. Physically, I cannot prepare, if I prepare a physical count list, non-inventory items won't come in that actual page. Either if I try to transfer this item, I'm not going to be able because literally it doesn't exist. That's why it's called non-inventory. What type of items could fall in this category? Your pencils, your paper maybe that you purchase. It depends. If you count it, if you need to stock it, the paper, the office supplies, the pens. For those of you who even have other type of purchases like miscellaneous, your clips, or in the warehouse, even we sometimes purchase bags or miscellaneous expenses that we don't always charge. It depends on your criteria, but non-inventory won't be able to be considered as an item actually. That's why it's non-inventory. It's something that we just create to be able to have the actual review when we need to purchase something. But even I could review the quantity on hand, but if I look in my warehouses, I won't be able to see any item of this non-inventory type. So these three are the basics, but as I mentioned, we have more. This is just part of the configuration, initial configuration, but remember we have our two bill of materials for assembly or just a simple list whenever we might maybe have kits or something. Not for retail. Retail have you have your own criteria for kits, but in this case as well it's a bill of materials. If you learn from this webinar, you're going to be able to understand kitting functionality. Okay, so everything it's from the beginning. You're going to decide which type of item. I'm going to review all of them today. Now, the unit of measure. Unit of measure. In this case, the base unit of measure is the unit we are going to start working. The smallest unit of measure that you have for your items should become as the base unit of measure. This is very important. the base unit of measure is the actual that we're going, the actual one we are going to be using to transform later to another greater packs of the same item. That's why I'm showing the beer. I have one beer that is a can, but later I want to create maybe the 6-pack, even pallets and some others, all right? But in order to create a unit of measure for your items, you have different type of unit of measures, like a length, a duration, like day, each hour, day and hour. For those of you who want to scale your items, kilometers, we have different categories of unit of measures. We might have also relationship if you want to convert maybe kilograms to tons or to ounces. But later I'm going to show you that conversion, and of course your base unit of measures and the further unit of measures we want to create later for the same item should be logical, all right? So we have, if your base unit of measure in this case is a can, I'm not going to expect to create a beer with a miles unit of measure, okay? So we just need to pay attention on that. And we have the automatic conversions later for our transactions. And I'm going to show you because we are going to be adding more unit of measures. So the base unit of measure is the smallest one for the ERP to work properly and to prepare inventory reports and costing functionality properly. And I'm going to show you how actually that works. You might have doubts about how we cost with this unit of measure functionality. Now, another important thing will be the item category, okay? This is very good for your reporting purposes. I have, for instance, in this case, a different type of beverages. In this case, alcohol, beer, spirits, wine, well, alcoholic beverages. All of these, as you can see, I have categorized under a specific tree. Under beverages, I have alcohol, beer, spirits, wine, and soft drinks. I also have coffee, soda, tea. Well, the list is endless. So you can categorize with any number of subcategories your items, all right? So under beverages, all of these are actually subcategories of the beverages category. So in Business Central, we only accept, this is an exception from the POS, all right? This item category is not going to work with LS Retail. Specifically, this is only internally in Business Central. I need to clarify, well, LS Retail is a POS functionality, embedded, working, integrated in Business Central that has their own criteria for this, okay? So just to make the actual note for this. Now, I also have service item group. I'm going to explain at the end. This is not the actual service item that I have explained before that we can create, but we are not going to create stock for this type of item. This service item group will be working for me later. Like here I have home appliances, but the service item group is going to help me if I want to later. This is only for specific industries, this type of category. Only if I'm going to offer a warranty and then later maybe under that warranty I need to send technicians to cover some repairs to the items that I sell and maybe offer agreements for maintenance and other type of stuff, well, the service item, of course, could have an extended functionality to have preventive and corrective maintenance. I don't want to go into that for now. Okay, let's just keep on working with the basics. I have the general information where I have my description, they categorize the type of item, inventory, service of my inventory, create the actual base unit of measure by the smallest actually unit that your item could have. This is a logical criteria. If you have, for instance, apples, there is no way you could create one piece thinking that that is the smallest apple or the smallest fruit, all right? For that type of criteria, let me just open the blue cheese and for this type of item, I have the base unit of measure gram. Okay, so in nature it's different. For this, because I'm going to scale this item, I'm not going to include the smallest piece. If in that case, or the smallest unit as cell, because in advance I'm telling you we need to scale the item. So according to your criteria for the unit of measure, you need to be and need to learn a little bit about how will be the usage according to the criteria for scale, for distances, or for actual bags, pallets, pieces, and so on. Coming back, I'm going to leave just this example to come back to the beer and explain exactly this function with the unit of measure. Here I'm going to leave just the basics in the item general tab to just show you other concepts specifically with the unit of measure, because what you're going to be doing is creating, at least in Business Central, the actual relationships with the actual unit of measures that you could have with your items. What I'm trying to explain here is that for me, at least for this item, I have the can unit of measure, which is the unit or the base. Then I purchase my item in pallets, and what we need to do in this case is define how many units the pallet actually has. So 100 beers, actually whenever I purchase a pallet, I'm also purchasing 120 cans. If I purchase a case 6, I'm purchasing 6 beers, case 12, and so on, okay? Now, later we could define other type of attributes, but at this point, this is only for WMS advanced functionality. Whenever you need to work with capacities, that function. But I don't want to mess, since we are just reviewing the basics, I don't want to mess with advanced functionality. Okay, so you need to create all the unit of measures and the relationships. So in other words, from now on, we only need to create one single item card. We don't require to create more in order to more item cards in order to have different type of unit of measures. Only one, okay? This is going to save us a lot of save in our database. The second very important thing we need to learn about items is the attribute. Let me just explain you what we have here. Look at this. I have some specific characteristics for this beer or this actual product that is going to be helpful in order for me to later have insightful information about the type of item and of course the category of item. For instance, the alcohol will be only applied for alcoholic beverages, okay? Country of origin or net content as well. Well, how I use these attributes, this could be used for reporting purposes, all right? Think of more insightful information that you could use so you can find your item easily. Maybe you just remember the brand for an item and then later you do a search. Whenever you start selling, your people will be selling or purchasing an item. And they might be, and they sometimes, if they don't remember the specific number or the specific name, Bud Light to 12, 355 milliliters, well, we have these attributes as well. They could be using the POS or while we purchase and sell. But most importantly, we have these characteristics so the customers as well can see what type of information you are adding, as well as the picture. So we have informational attributes like the picture and we have an attribute that is the picture, and we have informational attributes like this. Remember, this is informational, all right? Now, attachments is whenever you need to tie to your item specific or mandatory documents like instructions for assembly or treatment, but most of the time, this is not actually often used, it's just there if you want to add some specific notes for the design of the item. Okay, Now we have defined the actual general information, your attributes. What we're gonna be and what we need to do is to define the basic cost and price fields for my items. Okay. The idea whenever you create an item is that you're gonna get a price from your vendor, the initial price. This is what we call the actual unit cost. Or if you have your actual value of the actual period for the item, well, it as well could be calculated from the ERP with your purchase and sales operations. So I have the history. I've been selling this product since 2019, right? With purchase and sales operations, I sell different quantities and purchase different quantities. And well, so far until this year, the cost amazingly is actually the same. But whenever I purchase, the cost will be changing, okay? So with the time, you are going to define the cost. Your vendors are going to define the unit cost. And guess what? With the quantity you're going to be purchasing, then you're going to get different layers of cost. So the cost for the last year is not the same as the cost for this year. As you can see, well, actually I haven't, the unit cost for my item is just the same, okay? But with the time, your vendors will be offering you more expensive rates, more expensive costs, importing processes might change for customs, and all of that affect our cost. Okay, so it's a variable type of costing functionality, the one that we work with a Business Central for this. Let me explain you now. After I explain this and the initial cost, well, you need to define this characteristic for only costing functionality: FIFO, LIFO, specific, average, or standard. This is the field that we call the costing method. What it means is that whenever I'm going to start selling something, what do I want to do with my profit? That's basically what I'm going to be doing, because I can rearrange and arrange and organize the costing to work differently according to specific needs. Let me explain. The standard one will be FIFO. You might be thinking that maybe average is the most common one, okay? But they are actually working differently. Let me explain, because this is important, at least for you to take note on the most important ones. The most important one actually is FIFO, okay? We use it 90% of the time, except if you have some LIFO or specific functionality. Okay, FIFO in this case would be meaning that I'm going to first sell what I purchased first. So my first purchase where I increased my inventory was in 2018. So the first 20 cans that I sell will be carrying the actual 0.8 unit cost, okay? If with the time the unit cost is increased, well, at some point, I'm going to be selling my items with the future cost that I have registered. Like in this example, this is the history of my costing records that I have, the cost records whenever I purchase. And if you can see, I have also sales operations. So if I sell these first 20 pieces, which are the oldest one, well, we guess which cost I'm going to get, 0.8, okay? In this case, I haven't changed the cost, but don't worry. The idea is that you get that we have different costs at different point in time. That will be helping me to calculate my profit in the future when I start selling my items. First this 20, then later this 10, then later this 30, and so on, okay? Every time I'm gonna be selling my items, starting from the first one, that's first in, first out. With the same criteria, LIFO will be taking only the actual last cost coming from my last entry. In this case, is the actual same cost, 0.8. It hasn't changed, like I'm saying, but pay attention because if you select LIFO, you're gonna be actually selling items with more expensive rates, okay? And that's not good. Actually, that's a bad practice whenever actually you select LIFO, because that will be a fraudulent activity, because you will be reducing in the system your actual profit, maybe for taxing avoidance processes that are illegal or illegal, right? And we only, if you actually can demonstrate why you use LIFO, never use it. For a specific, what we're going to be doing is only maybe for jewelry, for something super expensive, okay? Where you need to actually, you don't work with LIFO, you don't work with anything like that. Every time you purchase something, you need to carry the actual cost when you sell it. And when you sell it, maybe with the serial number you want and you need the actual cost when you actually purchase it, and not other type of costing, not the oldest, neither the newest. Specific is just with actually specific inventory controls, like serial number, get the cost that I need, okay, the actual, so I can have absolute control of the costing functionality. Okay, and the average and standard costing, I'm going to explain it when we go with bill of materials. Okay, sorry, after this is not costing functionality, I'm just going to stop here, but it's important to clarify if we want to understand how to design items. Now, we're going to work with the most difficult concept, the posting functionality. Whenever we do transaction with this new item, oh, sorry, before I move to there, I need to go, of course, and define a price. Very important for your design. Why? Because once we define the cost, or the cost is being defined with the history layers, you can define a specific type of initial price, okay? You could define that you could have a markup. Well, your profit could be depending on the price. I was explaining that we can work with the actual items, and I was explaining the measures and everything related to the of the prices. Okay, so here as well, I'm going to continue. Just I'm going to need to change. I have changed from the Business Central environment to a local one. And in order to continue now with the review. So in order to begin with this new item, we have specifically the same. We have an inventory type of item. We have pieces as well. And the item category is now furniture. Now, what I was going to explain is that as well, we have the other functionality for our prices. Whenever we want to create a price in order to sell, at least in the item card, we can create a price, okay, unit price. So that's the only thing we need. We have a unit cost and unit price. In theory, that will be the only general information we need. And here, just in order to actually work at some point for your purchase and sales operations, we need just to actually decide which accounts we are going to be actually using. In order for this to actually work properly, we need to define which accounts you're going to be using while you actually are purchasing the item, the GL accounts that you're going to be using for taxes, the GL accounts that you need to use for inventory, and so on. And that is how we define that. We just create different type of groups, of course, for different type of accounts according to the functionality. Okay, so now we're going to start from the actual and most important type of item, or posting detail, which is First of all, where you're going to actually, that will be the first one, where you just need to create a tax or that type of a item. And as well, then later we have the other local type of taxes that you're going to have, okay? Behind this is a specific configuration that we need, but for you, since you are going to be with the design, you just need to select the type of tax that you're going to carry with your items. Well, the accountant will be designing how to group these taxes. Then, as well, we need to design what type of inventory we are actually creating. For every company, at least we have the resale type of item, or retail, or wholesalers, right? But just in case, you sometimes are purchasing or selling raw material or finished product, okay? That's how we treat the inventory category for accounting purposes, all right? And in the general, in this section, the last definition for the accounting, these posting details are only for the accounting process again. Okay, one. Okay. And I just call resale, raw materials, and so on. And then later, the general product posting group. Well, this is a type for purchase and sales operations, such as, for instance, sometimes I just sell retail, or I just purchase services, or miscellaneous, or manufacturing. Well, internally in your company, you're going to need to ask this specific category, okay? So you have manufacturing, miscellaneous, many examples. So we have 3 that you need to pick in order to make the item work for you. The tax functionality, the type of inventory, and for purchase and sales operations, sometimes your items are divided by retail, wholesaling, and so on. Okay, so just to define the categories for the actual posting group, very important to understand that you are always going to need to define your item for accounting wise purposes. Okay, and this is where you are going to do it. Okay, so nothing else. You just need to, generally speaking, define the cost, define the price, and the posting details. Okay, now coming back to my beer item that I was explaining, we have just the same. Let me see. And in order to show this well, in this case, everything is just called retail. Even retail could have their own taxes. And well, you could have different type of taxes for retail, different type of taxes for local, for foreign, and so on. Okay. Now, this general information you can start purchasing and selling it. Okay. To define these are just the basics. There that we have where we have replenishment. Okay. Just to mention, for you to design your actual planification is just you need to create, if you don't know about replenishment, don't worry, but at least try to work with the following measure for your first design. Please input a vendor number if you have a standard vendor from where you are purchasing this item, and the purchasing unit of measure. This is very important this will be suggested to purchase an item in one specific unit of measure, okay? The other parameters, we are not going to review all of them for now, okay? This will be for production and for assembly purposes, which is in another type of webinar. For now, we need the vendor number that exists, the vendor item number, and the purchase unit of measure. You could, if you need block use case, you can do so. Okay. And for the actual planning parameters, we also have a replenishment webinar where we are going to define all these specific policies, okay? Because just need to remember, before going, but that's an advanced process, you can define inventory levels, okay? Business Central has replenishment capabilities for your items where you define, remember, inventory levels. And just that, only for now. Specifically, you might need to design items that require, sometimes you need to have control on lots, on expiration dates, lot specific tracking, manual expiration, okay, as an example. And serial numbers, okay? For that, when you are purchasing or selling something, if you need a serial number, for example, well, for expiration, maybe, or a combination, well, you can define what you actually need and how you do this in the item tracking tab. Here is where you are actually going to define whenever you need a serial number or a lot number, whenever you are purchasing batches, okay? Lot number are going to help me to identify batches of items. So I can maybe recall, maybe I could just review the expiration date for a specific lot, and serial number is more specific. It could be the serial number to actually identify maybe the label that you print for a specific type of item, and you can identify actual item only by the specific unit you have in your hand. That's how we identify, because at some point, maybe I can purchase thousands of Bud Light beers, but if I require, in this case for the beer, I would require sometimes batches or lot numbers. So identify maybe this lot I purchased from, if you are, I don't know, in the Caribbean, you could purchase lot from the USA, or you can purchase lots from other countries, and you sometimes would like to identify those, okay? So that's a good, it's a good information to follow up, okay? And that's it for now. Okay, so the general information and the specific information is currently prepared for you. And now we're gonna go to something very, very useful. Set special prices, price list, and discount price list. Let's take a look at this information. For me, every time I need to have a specific customer, maybe I have agreements. I want to create an agreement with a customer. I need to have a special price for the item. In order for that to work, we are going to create a special price. And then I'm going to click on this special price list. Very well. From here, you could define for your customer or one specific customer. Let me give you an example. I'm going to select from these lines, every line means that I have a special price for one customer or for a group of customers or for one campaign for an offer. But I want special prices. I want prices for different types of customers. Okay. You can create price lists just by selecting any of these lines, or by, like I'm doing now, going to the last one and input more information. Like in this case, I have a customer and I want to select one of my customers to actually create a new price. Okay, in this case, I have prices in the first line for all my customers. Purchase. Oh, sorry for that. I sorry for that. Just to at least finalize the price list functionality. You can create special prices for your items offer to offer to customers. What I'm going to be doing in order to actually do that, you could create different ways for different customers. Then, in order to work, what I'm going to do is create a specific, I'm going to select a special agreement to sell this item for this customer. I'm selecting from the list of customers, one of the customers that I have here, and I'm going to specify one specific unit price. So maybe this item will be sold for $50, okay? And here you need to define just an initial date and an ending date for your actual process. So for my example, what I'm going to be actually just creating is just an item that has a special price with no ending date, okay? Why not to specify a minimum quantity where you could purchase, if you want to get a special price, well, you could only at least purchase 20 and have different levels of prices. Once again, we might decide to offer one special for all my customers or one special price, but for that to happen, what you need to do is to actually purchase let's say 100 if needed, and you're gonna get $45 per unit, okay? So for all the customers that purchase more than 100, okay? And well, you can define here as well the unit of measure and no starting date. That will be forever, okay? And last but not least, campaigns, if you have them, if you have CRM, well, I might have different events where I'm going to be calling customers to prepare an offer, invite people, or send emails to different persons. And well, I have one of the actual events that I will be creating. I have the spring offer, well, the increased sale offer, where I'm going to just offer this specific price because another idea, I want to actually get rid, I have extra inventory and I'm gonna get rid and I'm gonna offer, if I do not sell this item, well, what I'm going to do is that in November, I'm going to start offering this for a super cheap price because I don't want inventory in January. Okay, so that's how we use the sales prices for one specific customers, for all your customers, for a specific campaign, and for a price group. What is a price group? You can find customers like for instance retail and wholesale. You can define your customers by categories, yeah, and so on. Okay. For any of your groups. So you can adapt this and group attach this for your customer. So we can define the price list for any of you. You have only one single price and later Once we have that, you define your special prices. The same happens with special discounts, but in this type of list, we are going to define just exactly the same, but instead of a special price, you define a percentage that will be just actually discounted. Okay, so it's different. Yes. It doesn't mean that you always offer a minimum price. Sales prices, you could offer more expensive. Sales prices means that you could create prices for a specific range of dates, but discounts will be always discounting from the actual price, and you will be selling cheaper. Okay, that's why it is different. And as well, the discount will be shown in the actual discount fields in your sales operations. And whenever you have a special price, well, it won't be shown that it is a discount. It's just a special price because you have an agreement. So it's different. Okay, let's realize now because the issues is raining very hard here. So the basic design requires that you create the general information, review the cost, the sales price, to account information just to make it work properly. But I cannot finish this without telling you also a very important. Okay, item identifier, there are just barcodes. Whenever you are going to actually start selling or purchasing this item, okay? So pay attention to this because you need the barcode so you can scan it later, or the warehousing people can actually do so. Very important. Okay, so if for us it work for our company, okay, we have then as well cross references. This is not only a barcode, but sometimes you have numbers coming not in your system, but for your operations, you require translations so your vendor can identify your items. So for example, I have this customer is calling my item that is a check, you can see here, item number, a customer, that is a customer 5,000, it recognizes this same item by the number C100 425. The same happens with your purchases. Sometimes your vendors are going to offer you a specific item, and when you actually input the name in your system, actually you're going to have a different name. So these item cross-reference entries are related to the actual translation of the items, and that means that for us, we can have one actual number, and your vendors and customers could have different numbers for the same item. This is useful for purchase sales. Okay. It's not only about you could have the functionality whenever the internet allows me. Actually, and let me also show you that we have concept two things. We could have that the specific type of chart that I'm showing. Okay, so the idea is that I'm going to need to offer a similar when I say the type of chart. So it's important to define. I strongly always recommend to have. I have different type of chairs, different models. All of these are chairs, but with different names. Okay, in this case, countries. But in this case, I'm going to, if I don't have at some point enough inventory for a customer, I'm going as item then means that either if I don't have, I can offer the other item that will be in your sales operation, or either if I don't have an item specifically but is related as substitution and interchangeable, well, I could sell these actual items. Are actually very handy in terms of specific information. Okay, and from now you can define specific vendors that are going to actually from where you're going to be purchasing the item. You have the item vendor catalog. Which vendors are selling me these items? So I can, whenever so I can see maybe before purchasing, I could review the purchase prices or discounts that my vendors are offering me for the same type of item. So as I can see, I don't have specific special prices for coming from any vendor. Okay, these were just vendors that I have investigated before, and I need to make note of vendors. For vendors, I actually can purchase this. Remember, you could verify if you have special prices or purchase discounts whenever you. Okay, that's, and well, just continue defining this as well. You could create, let me see. You could create a dividend per payment percentages. That is just to finalize that you need to purchase stuff, but your vendor is not going to send specific items, specific shipments for any actual deal. In advance a specific quantity based on prepayment. Well, the accountant might ask you, hey, to your accountant or to or your item inventory manager or warehouse. Okay, just to finalize, I was explaining the payment. You need to explain, and I'm telling you now, whenever you want to use prepayment, they are fixed. They are not variable. If you define it here, that will be adjusted to your purchase. All the time will be 10%. Okay, but you can get every purchase order just in case, just for you to know, to create a prepayment from your actual and just in case. Okay, I cannot continue for now with the internet that I have currently here in Mexico. Sorry for the interruptions. I need to finish now the webinar for today. I actually extended 20 minutes the actual webinar because of this, but I believe that at some point I'm going to continue with also this type of topics. So just be patient. I just want to apologize for the options that I had, but at least I was able to show some basic functionality to start this time. But due to time constraints and the specific time of use as well you have prepared for this actual meeting, for now, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to have another training. Hopefully, I have just corrected with my provider the internet service. And tomorrow, I'm going to continue then with more information just for you to know more about Business Central. And I just want to once again apologize for the interruptions today. And well, thank you very much as well for your time today. Thank you very much for your patience, everybody. So hopefully we can Thursday, like every webinar, we are having this webinar series of webinars every Thursday. You can check in the optimus.guru website the following topics that I'm going to be presenting for you. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and see you then the next session so we can continue with more information, important information for Business Central functions. So thank you very much today, and have a great day.